In search of soil.
Is there any thought of looking at an existing legume, a soybean, that already has the fixation part that's solved and just really dialing up the nitrogen fixation so it supplies suddenly its roots are putting on 300 or 3x the nitrogen that it needs, 300 times as much nitrogen as it needs. So when that plant dies off, it got enough nitrogen to grow itself, but there's a huge abundance left in the ground for the next crop that follows it on. And in this whole corn soybean rotation that we have here in the US, a lot of farmers are planting corn after soy. Those soy roots are already there. They just, dissolve into the surface. Those nutrients become bioavailable. What about turning up the dial on current legumes to just produce more in an existing rotation?
It's a really interesting question, and I don't. In theory, it should be possible. I would say that from Joint Bio's from our perspective, we focused our initial technical proof of concept and our initial research on working specifically with the corn itself and trying to get it to associate some of that nitrogen fixation with the corn. However, I would say, if you could, if you think about it, like you've said, if you could increase the amount of nitrogen production from a soybean, rhizobia, if you could increase it by 10 or 100x, and you leave behind in a rotational world, if you leave behind that much more, it's going to be complementary to, or that's going to be an incremental benefit to what you can do to reduce the synthetic fertilizer. And I would say, I'd say that's one of those ideas we have that we would look at sort of in phase 2 or phase 3 of our work. So I would, we haven't done anything to date to explore it. I would just say that. So it's not something, but I think in theory it's absolutely possible. And the whole point of using these engineering techniques is you can take something very targeted, and if you understand the pathways and the genes and what they're doing, there's ways that you can optimize them for a very particular purpose, which may not happen in nature for 100 million years, but with the tools we have, by making these changes, you can suddenly make the change in a matter of months and years, as opposed to waiting for evolutionary pressures to drive it. It's just really accelerating evolution when you think about it, right? Is the ability to go in there and have a very targeted output that you want, and then understanding the mechanics or the mechanisms of that microbe and tweaking it so that you focus all its energy or all of its overexpression on that targeted output that you want.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out some of the great clips and watch the full interviews right here on In Search of